Live and in colour.
Oh, my Sophie cat is down here meowing in the floor
Oh,
just in time to kick us off on our live.
wants to be on the live
Yeah.
Oh, hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I am here for the very last, but definitely not the least, of the Summer Blitz panels with the Writers of Rohan. And I'm so excited to have you all back. We've got Matthew and Dee and Luke and Sean all back. Um, they've literally done every single blitz I've ever done. So it wouldn't be a blitz without you guys. How are y'all doing?
Better than I was.
trying to stay cool. It's really hot.
Yeah, gosh.
Yeah,
It's muggy.
Yeah, it's gross out there.
Yeah, so for the new people who have joined the channel, because there's been a lot of you guys this year, and thank you if you're tuning in as viewers or readers or fellow authors, why don't we talk a little bit about who each of you are, what kind of fantasy slash sci-fi slash science fantasy you write, and maybe a book that you're most known for, except for Sean, who is going to maybe possibly tell us a little bit about the book in progress. Knock on wood.
Pull out a
Hang on, so I grab a book of mine.
You didn't
Well,
come
I mean, Sean has the ultimate story now, so
Yes, we are. I am invested. When this book comes out, it's like, yes, the whole world will hear. Sean, why don't you just start us off, and then we'll just go around the circle.
Okay, so I'm Sean Donovan, unpublished, except for a few short stories. I do all the above. I do fantasy, science fiction, sci-fantasy, weird fiction, which is, I guess, sci-fi. Yeah, so I've been working on a book for a while now. I've decided to pump the brakes on it. Very George R. R. Martin mindset of like, nothing's quite working. I'm going to do other things. I'll come back to it. So right now I'm working on a few things. I'm participating in Camp NaNoWriMo this month, which is just like a smaller, more personalized version of the November NaNoWriMo, the 50K. I'm writing a sci fantasy story that I'm hoping to serialize. I'm trying to find a home for it. Royal Road, Kindle, or not Kindle, what's it called? Kindle Vella or Wattpad. I'm fielding my options there. Yeah. Probably leaning Wattpad just because I know a lot of people on that platform. So it's like it feels more familiar. And then Kindle Vella, for some reason, is only in the US. But there's no UK. And I'm like, why? That's whatever. So I'm writing that. I've got another fantasy book I'm working on. It's a little cozy fantasy. It's mostly there for when I'm, holding my newborn at 3 a.m. and I've got a spare hand on my phone to type. And I'm like, oh, I'm really bored. All right, I'll just write the scene and then go to bed. And then I'm writing actually writing a nonfiction book that's all about the history of the comic book character Moon Knight.
Yes, I've seen that.
yeah.
So, and I just realized last night, I told my wife, I was like, I gotta get this thing published because the character's 50th anniversary is in a couple of years. So I'm like, oh, it'd be pretty fun to publish
That'd be cool.
in 2025. So I've got a whole stack of Moon Knight books. I'm only missing like one 8-year stretch that's never been reprinted that comes out next year. So that's what I'm working on. A few other things here and there. I've got a book I need to edit. But by I need to edit means I'm never going to work on it because I hate that. It's never going to happen. It's like a YA-ish sci-fi, like new adult, I guess. But yeah, lots of stuff.
Yes,
I'm
and
gonna throw it all
gonna
at you.
come back to this later. That really, Sean is probably the most well-researched author going into debut publishing that I have ever had the privilege of meeting. I know I was not prepared like Sean when I was getting ready to publish my book.
I think Sean's published before all of us too. Like you've had a couple of short stories published.
Yeah.
Yeah, little indie things here and there. I've got another one next year. I'm not sure when the release date is, but it's next year that the magazine's coming out. I'm always just looking for fun little indie short story places to go to because I feel like, indie short stories are where you find the most diverse pool of writers because those are people that are really just trying to find their voice and trying to find their first step in, rather than like, all right, I'm going to write a book and really find my voice there. It's like, no, let me just I'm gonna try this genre. And
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, because
Yeah.
I did a little bit in college. Like my professor actually like encouraged us to go try to publish like a short story and got rejected a bunch of times. So like the fact that you have like 3 or 4, like that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean the big boys. It almost feels like in the short story world is really kind of mirroring the traditional world where it's like you've got the big publisher, the big sci-fi magazines where it's like you'll just never get in. But like with these indie people, they're more, I wouldn't say like more accepting because they're not accepting anything. They won't take anything, but like they have strict themes and guidelines and quality. But I don't know, it just feels more diverse and more fun to be indie published in the sci-fi in the short story realm, where you can kind of say like you'll see a bunch of list of people you've never heard of, and it's just people to go see if they have more, on Wattpad, Kindle Vella, or maybe they have published books before and now they're just trying short stories.
Yeah.
Can we also do a really quick shout out to Sean for creating an IRL character?
Yes.
Congratulations, Sean.
Yes, he's crying in the background. I don't know if you can hear him.
Sorry, Dad.
I can't hear him.
I can't hear him either.
Yeah.
Huge major dad points for being up at 3 a.m. so your wife can sleep and also using it to write.
Yeah, I wish I had that kind of stamina, and I don't even have that newborn.
But I was actually just thinking, was the last live we did, was that when like Sean, you announced that like
right. That was what, January? So yeah, we were probably just announced that we were expecting it. Yeah.
Crazy.
And now he's here over there.
Yeah.
You did it.
Yeah.
I did it. Yeah, it's funny. You say the stamina, but I think it was 3 days ago. I was writing and I was typing and I fell asleep. Like I passed out. I was like, what happened? And I looked, and my computer was just a line of O's. Like,
oh my gosh.
That only happens in like sitcoms.
Yeah, right?
I'm not looking forward to going. And that chapter is very like important to the story. So like, what that chapter is going to look like.
Delete it. You just have a bunch of O's.
Yeah. Undo.
At least it's on a laptop and not like you fall asleep while writing it on paper and you wake up with
or a typewriter. It's just like pages just going constantly.
Yeah. So speaking of news, Luke, congratulations on announcing about the cover to come and everything going on. But for those who don't know you, I know I was on another live with Roger Sandry in the Blitz, and he really sang your praises. And I was telling him how I've met so many authors through Luke, who's like what I term one of the masters of indie dark fantasy. Why don't you tell us a little bit about
there, then?
Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? And you've had quite the writing journey, maybe your highlight series and what's coming.
Indeed. So I'll start. So for those of you who haven't met me, I'm Luke Courtney, 33, living in London. I particularly specialise in variations of dark fantasy, both epic and urban. So in terms of what I've written, as you probably noticed while you two are speaking to Sean, I've been scrambling, desperately trying to grab copies of my books. So we have Argent Blade, published in 2020, and its sequel, Argent Blade Plague Carrier. And these are urban dark fantasy set in contemporary London, all full of demons and horrific goings on, all set against the backdrop of like a city that I know the ins and outs of. Largely so I can trash it in the way that New York gets trashed in. Just why should New York have all the fun?
It's always New York. There's more cities in America.
In America, like
London's got more detail to it.
Charleston.
The last Godzilla did Boston, right?
Fun to destroy. As well, thank you to DM for doing a shout out to this on Instagram yesterday. From the Ashes, book 1 of the Phoenix Saga, which is an epic dark fantasy in the kind of vein of The Witcher and Lord of the Rings. I will write more in this series. I swear to God. It's on the back burner because my ongoing work in P has kind of like taken over. And to be fair, the two of them they will dovetail together. There are elements of their two worlds that kind of match together. While we're on the subject of Sean's new arrival, I also branched out into writing. Well, I branched out, write something different with Two Horn, a children's book aimed at the 5 to 10 year olds. Sorry, 5 to 6 is far too small a range. But yeah, so this is aimed at 5 to 10 year olds. So maybe when he's a bit older,
I do have a copy.
Excuse.
I do have a copy. I will read it.
Excellent.
My boys love it. I have two that are like 3 to 6 range, and they both really like Two Horns.
Cool. That's always good to hear. So I just wrote that on a whim during the pestilence, and then thought, why not run with it?
Sure.
And as you mentioned, at the moment, my ongoing story is The Girl Who Sings to Dragons, which is the first book in the Winged Wolf saga, which is an upcoming epic fantasy with a bit of a fantasy romance element to it. As you mentioned, I'll be doing the cover art reveal this coming Tuesday at 2:00 UK time. I've also got a map in the works, which I'll also be showing off once that's all sorted out as well. I can't honestly put down a release date at the moment because there's still a bit of work to do on it, but
I feel that.
Still hopeful I can get it out there before the end of this year.
I am so excited.
I feel that. Like, I hope.
Oh, I can't wait. It's so epic.
December 31st.
Yeah, no, that's what I said on the Forester, and it didn't happen. So it's okay. Don't pressure yourself, Luke. Like, it'll happen.
Yourself in, Luke.
Yeah, we're just glad that it's happening. And while we bring that up, if anybody's watching and you want to follow any of these authors to see Luke's cover reveal and Sean's new books and Matthew and Dee's stuff, all their links are in the description box because I always seem to wait too late to remind people of that. So go follow them.
Good plan get this time.
Yeah. And Dee, congratulations on your new release. I don't have a paperback copy to hold up, but Matthew does.
Finally arrived this morning.
Yay.
Finally got it.
Yay! I know. I'm so excited.
All three.
The family.
Yes. Whenever somebody says, "Do you know a good pirate book or a good mermaid book?" I'm like, "Okay, you guys have to go check out these stuff."
Exactly.
Yeah. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your hard work and your series and what's going on with you?
Sure. So yeah, I'm DM Sontag, and right now I write nautical new adult fantasy, but it also can be young adult. It's also a little bit adult too. It's really weird because it's like I keep it like young adult, new adult by like all the swearing is in a different language. So all the F-bombs are a different word that I made up, and it's Farron's favorite swear because pirates got swear like sailors. So I worked around that. I was like, I have to have swearing in my book, but I don't want to have swearing in my book. So anyway, but yeah, so it's nautical. So it's on the seas. There's 5 kingdoms of isles, and yeah, I just finished the trilogy. So the very first one, and they're all going to have my not for resales on it, but these are the hardback copies, which I'm very happy about. When I first published,
Beautiful.
I made a mistake and I published in white pages, and you cannot change that on Amazon. I mean, you can, but you have to like re-upload it and relink it. I know somebody who did that. I'm like, I don't want to go through all that work. So I ended up, when Amazon finally released hardcover, I was like, the hardcover has cream pages. So, and also extra goodies. They have like, there's an index and a playlist and stuff. So this is the Lightning Bride focused on Melee. And then this is the Golden Wolf, focused on Farron, the salty, swearing sailor. And then this is the Forester, just released like last week, was it? I don't know.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
So that's the main trilogy. And then I also have 2 novellas that talk about these two's parents. So the first novella is The Mermaid Shadow, which talks about how Melee's parents met and fell in love and had her. And then the Wizard's Goddess talks about how Farron's parents met and fell in love and had him. And I have another novella on the way that I was writing, and that's going to be about Farron at 18 and how he met his first mate, Jacob, and how he became the pirate that he is. And it's going to be fun, and I keep calling it Pirate Shenanigans. And so that's me.
Don't change it.
Thank you for mentioning cream pages. That's going to be invaluable when my time comes around.
Yes. Because I think white is like the default, and I don't know why. I think that's why I messed up.
This time, the Girl Who Sings to Dragons is going to be the first book that I self-publish myself rather than rely on someone else to do it. So, oh God, I'm not looking forward to that.
Yeah, I think there's some books that do better with white pages, but it always gives me like a...
With the Lightning Bride, because of the like cover, there's like white in the cover, so it ended up looking
really
good.
did.
Yeah, but I think you start noticing it with the yellow hues, or at least that's what I noticed it. I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, no, I prefer cream pages for reading. I feel like it's easier on my eyes. But...
Yeah,
fair enough.
Yeah.
So sorry about that if you have the paperback, but the hardback has the cream pages.
Cream pages feel a little meatier, so it's like you don't feel like you're gonna tear the page as quickly.
Are the white? I'm trying to think because I bought one off Amazon. I felt like almost like
mine has white.
Almost like it didn't feel like a real book. It was like a weird texture. I was like, I don't know, like the page was like weird. But then with the cream, it feels like easier to move through the book, which does affect the experience.
It was AI generated, Sean.
Have the recommendation.
Must have been.
If you're watching and you're a reader, let us know what you like.
I mean, it depends on what you like, but it's also a perfect example of like how I'm just constantly learning with each book and each publish.
I mean, I didn't even know this thing. Like, I've just noticed the difference, but I was like, maybe it was just the printer that day. It was weird. I don't know. I didn't know that.
I didn't know it either. I was just like, default, whatever you suggest. Like, I did the default 6x9, which is a big book. Like, typical books are not 6x9. So.
Nope.
Yeah, I thought we were
This is all worryingly new stuff to learn because my process with this new book of mine has been, well, you've all seen the freak out, so
it's okay, Luke. That's why we're here. We're here to help.
The Writers of Rohan to the rescue.
When it's finally ready, I'm probably going to be bombarding you with questions about the uploading process.
I think there should be a law that requires every single fiction book the same size because I'm tired of having my shelf. Like, come on, please. I've got like Outlander, which is like this tiny book, and then I've got like The Witcher, and then it's just
your books in general, Dee. Like the very the
okay. Well, that's Amazon's fault. That is Amazon's fault for printing. Matthew's books are like slightly off.
Oh, that's so frustrating.
But yes, one day there'll be super valuable collector's editions.
That's what I say. That's what I think about. Like, I still have the very original Lightning Bride that didn't have the It just started with my name, but then I like most books have like just the title. So it's a collector edition for sure.
Yeah. And speaking of new releases, so we've had work coming out for Luke with the cover reveal coming soon. We've got Dee's recent new release and Matthew's new release / another book in the works since the last live. I think you put out book 2 and book 3's and
so book 2 has not been released yet. It comes out on August 22nd. But for those who are new to the live, my name is Matthew Romeo. I am a primarily science fiction author. I do delve into science fantasy. I have 2 series presently out right now. The first, my debut series, is the Maven Knight trilogy, which is fantasy. And my newest series, the Outrider Saga. Book 1 is currently out, but book 2 will be available on August 22nd. The Outrider Saga is primarily science fiction. It's really more tech-driven. And I guess I can reveal this on the live now that book 1 is out, at least. But the Outrider Saga does tie in vaguely with the Maven Knight trilogy.
Very exciting.
You can enjoy them both on their own, but if you do read the Maven Knight trilogy first and then get into Outrider Saga, you'll see little nuggets of Easter eggs in there.
Yeah, and it's the Maven Knight trilogy that's complete now, so
yes.
I'm getting my series all jumbled. But if you watch
you're working on something to do with that, aren't you, Matt?
I was going to say, aren't you doing a novella though?
I forgot about that. I was going to start working on Outrider Saga book 3, and I have to give full credit to Mr. Courtney here for this. He did a little indie fan fiction snippet a few months ago and it really just spurred my gears on. D, I know you're really.
I'm shaking my head because I don't like this character.
But I will be doing a prequel. I'm aiming for a novella, but I think it might end up being like an actual novel at this point.
Wow.
Nice.
But it will be a prequel story revolving around two characters. I can't spoil who they are, just for those.
I know, don't worry. At least I should. I know, don't worry.
Yeah, you know who it is, and you get full credit for this idea, Luke.
Cool.
Luke, you did it! Yay!
Yay.
I say it was just a random prompt. I think it was on one of the pages we follow. I just thought it was just an idea that came to me, and then who knew it would go to this?
Yep. But unfortunately, it will put Outrider Saga Book 3 on the back burner till at least 2025. So,
at least you got that. I don't know when I'm going to get back to finishing Argent Blade of the Phoenix Saga at the moment.
Which I need Argent Blade End War, Luke.
I know.
The plan was to write that one this year, but then the Winged Wolf Saga just got completely out of hand.
See, that's why I stuck with the Kingdom Hearts.
Sorry.
I knew this would happen. It was like, because there are other series I want to work on, but I forced myself. I was like, do not look at this series until you finish the Kingdom Hearts.
I may try depending on whether I finish, whether I get. I'm hoping to get the Girl Who Sings Dragons published this year, and then it all depends on whether I get the first draft for the next book in that series finished, or I go back to Argent Blade, because as well as Argent Blade End War, the third book in the series, I also want to write 2 novellas that will kind of like dovetail events from book 2 from Plague Carrier over to End War. Yeah. Of course, you've got to do that in between, the classic indie struggle of balancing work, life, and everything else.
Yeah. We're working jobs and then trying to find it.
Not everyone's lucky enough to be like George R. Martin. Take 12 years.
But look at him. Like, we're still waiting.
Still waiting.
But Luke might do a fan fiction prompt and George R. Martin be like, oh, now I got to finish.
Don't say it, it'll happen.
Is Martin just loves editing other people's work and taking all the credit for it. Like I saw a release for the other day where it's like edited by George R. Martin and you don't even see the author's name.
Yeah, the author's on the very bottom. Yeah.
I remember when I was in London, there were bus ads for Elden Ring saying that's a script written by George R. Martin. It's like, will you write your own damn series?
Listen. Elden Ring was worth it. Okay, Elden Ring was. I'll take it.
I know. If he's gonna waste time on a side project, I'd rather it be the second book of Fire and Blood.
Yeah, another one that's like, all right, whatever.
I think Luke brought up a great point though, and it's a theme that I've seen a lot within the Writers of Rohan group, but also in the indie author community this year very heavily, which is now that the pestilence is becoming more controlled and waning down, we're going back to work, we're going back to life, we're supposed to get out and socialize with people instead of live in our books all the time, and it's created sort of a heaviness. I don't know about you guys, but on me it's been like there's a change, and the change has been hard, I think, for several indie authors to adapt to. So if you're comfortable about talking about it, I'd love to hear, sort of what that's been like for you and how you've been able to keep your inspiration, to keep wanting to read, to write, to review.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I would love to talk on this because if not for the pestilence, The Lightning Bride wouldn't have been published. I was sitting on it for like 7 years. I was stuck in this one spot. And it was hard finding the time to write because I'd come home tired from my job and then like want to play video games, want to watch TV, or like just want to chill and relax. Not because when I realized that like writing is brain power, and it's like, so you just used 8 hours of brain power in your full-time job, and then you come home. That's why I'm so tired. I'm like, man, I love writing. Why don't I want to write? Oh, well, I'm still spending brain energy on this. It's not just scrolling TikToks or whatever. So if not for the pestilence of I was put on 12-hour shifts, which was terrible, but I had 3 days off. So in those 3 days I finished, and then like started Instagram, found the writers community, found these guys, and then and then just started, and then self-published October 2020. And Golden Wolf was a fluke. I did that in NaNoWriMo. I wrote 50K words of it in NaNoWriMo. I don't know how I did it. I wasn't able to do it the next year, but then when everything went back to normal, Forced Air took forever. There were also like, it wasn't just like work, it was like personal things going on in my life that made it hard to write. So it was like struggling with like where I am mentally, where I am emotionally, physically. Like it was really hard, and that's why like I kept pushing off deadlines. It was just like I couldn't find the time, couldn't find the energy, couldn't find the. So it's hard. It's I'm still learning. Is at the end of the day is like trying to find that balance.
For you.
Back to normal.
Yeah, no, I totally, because that has been the biggest challenge, is trying to at least for me, the balance is figuring out how to market, because I self-published Maven Night in 2018 when I was still this was pre-pestilence, so I had that balance of writing and work relatively down. But then once, quarantine hit, it was really easy to market, socialize, do a lot of lives. I had a lot of energy to do that stuff. But now that's back at work, it's harder and harder to schedule that. Like I can barely keep up with my schedule of posting regularly now.
Yeah.
And especially like this past winter, like I just hit like full dead stop. I had no energy, could barely find energy to write. NaNoWriMo, I only did like maybe 30,000 words, so I doubt be able to do it again this year. So I may not even try NaNoWriMo this year. But yeah, so I am glad that we still have Writers of Rohan to fall back on, and like because that's kind of what helps keep me motivated is when we have our little spurts of conversation. Like we'll go weeks without talking, but then we'll just pick up with
oh yeah. Because of time delay, you three have had an in-depth conversation. I finally get the Wi-Fi. Like he lights up with messages like, "What the heck?"
Those damn colonialists.
Oh
shoot! Sorry.
It's okay. Sean, Luke, I know this has been especially rough, Luke. I've just seen your heart and soul, and you're so transparent, and I've really appreciated it as a fellow author, because when I hit my darkest moments this year, I was like, even the authors who've been doing this longer than me and have a much stronger following are dealing with this. It's
no, like I say, I got lucky with, because I think when I would already been thinking about, because the last time I published a book before, because I hit it out of the park in 2020. Ironically, the pestilence was the best year for me publishing I'd ever had. The last book I'd self-published, was back in 2014. So I think in January 2020, I had Argent Blade more or less completed. I was contemplating, I don't know, after my bad experiences trying to get a foot in the door with traditional publishing, I thought maybe I should look at it at self-publishing. And obviously when quarantine hit, I had more time to look into my options. And then the idea for Two Horn came along, and I also had the idea to originally publish From the Ashes in 2014. God almighty, it was a mess. I didn't know what I was doing. I was not as aware about the benefits of like certain aspects of the process as I am now. I mean, I am still learning, but I'm wiser than I was back then. So I'll say 2020, published Argent Blade, published Two Horn, fixed up and republished From the Ashes. And then not long after publishing those, someone's alarm going off?
Sorry about that.
Right. I just want to make sure it's not outside my window. But yeah, no, and then not long after publishing Argent Blade, I got straight into writing Plague Carrier to keep the momentum going. And then I was going to do the same thing with the next book in the Phoenix Saga, but then the idea for the Winged Wolf Saga came along. And then from about mid-2022, so that kind of real life kind of went to hell. I with work, personal circumstances, and you had to the writing has to be put on the back burner because everything else is taking priority. And then when you factor in the chaos that was the early part of 2023, yeah, it's kind of been hard to say keep that momentum going. And obviously, for me as well, I'm learning new things about the process. I'm trying to take the publishing aspect of it into my own hands rather than relying on other people. And then it's a mountain of new information that at times does look quite overwhelming. And then when you factor in, as you say, now the pestilence is more or less fading into memory. I say, and like the old way of doing things reasserts itself. It is difficult to kind of say find that balance when you're getting up at like 9, like anywhere between like get up at 6 in the morning, not getting in until nearly 7 in the evening, and then you've got about 2 to 3 hours to yourself to try and scrape some writing time together before. I mean, hell, at the moment, the most writing I get is I take my laptop to work and do it on my lunch break.
Yeah.
But that's something.
About writing time for me now.
Yeah,
writing on the lunch break and then the 15-minute breaks here and there. That's where I get a lot of my writing.
Yeah, I posted a reel about that where I actually filmed myself at work where I had this routine where it was, my first 15-minute break in my car, my lunch break, and then my second 15-minute break. I had this like little spot where it had like, it was like one of those old school desks where you could put my laptop on. And then when I got home, I had, do life and cook and clean and whatnot. I only had, like Luke said, like 1 to 2 hours just to myself.
Yeah, so when you get in, you also got to do all the other real life things, cook, clean, gather your stuff together for the next day. So I say you're lucky if you, and I say, and once you finally get some time to yourself, at least for me, I don't know about the rest of you, but when you finally get some time to yourself at about, I don't know, anywhere between 8:30 and 9:30 at night, you're too exhausted to do anything major.
Yep.
And then that's actually like 9 is when I need to start getting ready for bed because I wake up at 5 in the morning. So
8 o'clock.
The other advantage of writing on my lunch break as well is it stops me from going out to the shops and spending money. And I need to pay for every aspect of the self-publishing process. Editors, cover artists, map designers, formatters, they don't come cheap.
No. Yes. And then little humans thrown in on top of that for Sean.
Well.
Yeah, I joked about it, but really, I mean, 3 a.m., I'm like, all right, here we go. Like,
I had your stamina.
Yeah, or, maybe he sleeps 30 extra minutes in the morning, and I'm like, go. Yeah, I mean, yeah, like NaNoWriMo last year, it was before work every day. That was, and then maybe like a lunch break, but I'd have a half hour, an hour, and I was like, all right, maximum speed, and just hit the word count as fast as you can.
I think I'm gonna have to try because if I don't make much more headway on the word, because I'm about halfway through with the first draft of the Wolf and the Swan, the next book after The Girl Who Sings to Dragons, and I'm thinking, if I don't make much more headway before November, I think I might just try and scrape every bit of time I can in November to try and
do it. Yeah.
What really helped me was Preptober. Like that's how I got through the Golden Wolf. I used to be a complete pantser. I would just write off the seat of my pants. And but then I was like, I'm gonna try this NaNoWriMo thing, and I plotted out everything. So when I sat down and didn't have any ideas, I could look and see like, chapter 3, I wanted to do this scene. So I just start writing it. And then Preptober, I would do like 15-minute sprints because I'm like, okay, I have a 15-minute break. And really that's like 10 minutes because you have like 5 minutes like getting to the place, sitting down, getting comfortable, getting your laptop up or whatever. So just time yourself for 10 minutes. See how much you can just write straight.
I might try. Okay, looks like I might try Preptober this year as well. Just
But because I learned in like 10 minutes I could get out at least I think like 200 words, and I was like, hey, every little bit counts. If that's 200 words for 10 minutes, then another 10 minutes is 200 words, and then like how much is in an hour? Do the math.
I know it's like a similar process. I really need to get back into this routine. I had this routine before.
Routine is good,
pandemic. But basically, when I got in from work, it was my goal. Write a minimum of 300 words a night. If I go beyond that point, it's like if I hit the zone and keep going, then obviously that's a brilliant. But even if I don't, then it's it's still 300 words more. I need to get back into that routine. It's fallen by the wayside. I need to get it back.
Prepping and sprints are what saved my life in NaNoWriMo every time. I would do,
Yeah.
even if it's like, if you know, like I'm going to be writing for, let's say maybe you do have an hour. Don't write for the full hour. 15, 15, 15,
Yes.
15. It's
Yeah.
such, because you'll have a slow first 15, pick up the pace, and you can slow it. You know, like you set your pace that way. Like, because I could write maybe like, it'd be like, man, that sprint sucked. Take a minute to yourself, think about it, hit the next 15. Like, don't even think about it, just go. I know it's hard for some people, and it's not like, you know, for me, it's like I'll prep and be like, I know what this chapter is about, and then stuff happens. But like, I don't know. I know some people can get in their head where it's like, I don't like how the scene went. Go back. But you know, I mean, even then, like, you do 15 of that scene, and you don't like it, take the next 15. Now go back, and now it's a more polished version of that, and you've still been working. So I'm always a big fan of sprints. Like that is my. If I were to, you know, someone pointed a gun at me and was like, "What's your writing advice for everybody?" I'd be like, "Sprint." And they'd be like, "No,
that'll be a new challenge for me to attempt.
Yeah.
So
I am.
Prep. Oh, sorry. My issue for Preptober this year was I struggle with prepping with each book, so each book is different. So like the year before, 2021, when I did I prepped for book 2 of the Seaworth Chronicles. Like I did the full, like it was like a 6,000 word outline, and we were joking about it because it's like, when your outline is almost the length of a novella, like that's a problem. But did almost 70,000 words for that NaNoWriMo. But then this year, since I had already written half of Imperium, I was like, well, I'll just see what I can add. Like no outline, no nothing. And it ended up just being a lot of just fluff. And I was not satisfied.
Yeah. There's I just looked up on my phone because there's a really good like writer person or whatever I follow on YouTube called Abby Emmons. She has a couple of like songs or like they're for sprints. So it's like it's hour long music, but it changes because it's like this 20 minutes. The title will literally be like you're writing in a forest and it gets darker or something like, or like if you're writing fantasy, it's for fantasy. And then it's like, it starts off like just normal forest music for 20 minutes. And then it will ding too. Like everything it'll ding to let you know. And then there's like a 5-minute break. And then the next is like a different musical, whatever. And that has, I've learned that that's really helpful. So.
Yeah, and for those who are watching, I know we've mentioned a lot of NaNoWriMo, so I pulled the link up for it earlier, and here's Abby's link.
Yes.
I'll check that out, I think.
She also gives like really good advice for writers and stuff.
That's really cool.
NaNoWriMo is the National Novel Writing Month, and in that month, writers in general, or people who want to write and have not sat down to write yet, get together to write 50,000 words over the course of November. And then they have Camp NaNoWriMos, which Sean, I think, mentioned earlier. And those, you set your own goals. So you don't have to wait till November and jump into a 50,000 word novel. You can start now for Camp NaNoWriMo in July and say, I'm going to write 200 words a day. And that's going to be my goal for the rest of July. And then it gives you a way to track that. And it's free. It's a nonprofit organization. So you don't have to pay a penny to use their tracking, to plug into their community or anything like that.
And one more thing for Camp too, you don't have to write, you can edit. Like for NaNoWriMo, the goal is to just be But Camp, I mean, one year I used it for editing, and it was like, because it's like, what's your word count goal? And you could be like, I want to edit, 50,000 words or so. I want to edit X amount of words, and you just kind of track it your own way. So Camp is really good for the people who are either new to NaNoWriMo, or I know they kind of advertise it as like the April, because you all November's drafting. April is what they kind of marketed as like, this is your editing month. You've had 2 months off, now go, or 5 months off, now go back.
Wrote it, so now work on it.
And then July can be more editing, or maybe prep, or just a little side project.
I love how transparent you guys are. Whenever you come on, it's just like, here's what it's like to be a real human being with a real job and family and life, writing and publishing. Because I think a lot of times when and I include myself, because I still feel like, hey, Val's been out 2 years, but I still feel like a newbie. You look at these authors, like I got on Instagram and Roger and I were talking on the past panel and saw Luke, and we're just like, wow, look at.
To be honest, even I still feel like a fumbly. I still feel it's like You two are singing my praises, and I still feel like a fumbling amateur.
And I think the important thing is when you go indie, you get this community, and someone's always one step ahead of somebody, but someone's always behind. And so we're always like, we're trying to rise the tide, lift all the boats.
Exactly.
And,
yeah, what I love about indie is like this friendship right here. Like, I'm not best friends with Brandon Sanderson. I can't DM George R. R. Martin or like, but like these guys, we have a group chat, and if if we're struggling, we'll drop a meme or just drop some inspiration or be like, hey, I have this not roadblock, writer's block. I don't know how to work through the scene. And then like, people will help. Sean asked about something about a sword. Like, what do I call this sword?
Oh my
yeah.
Matthew's like, yes, my time.
How would like a medieval person?
Yeah, how does a fantasy character describe a lightsaber? But like, we'll never give context. Like, I'll just jump in and be like, what would you do here? And I'm never like, here's what the story's about.
And we'll just jump in. We'll be like,
yeah. It's just the most random. Or like, D, you like, I think it was for Forest Air, you were like, something was going on the Instagram and like you couldn't post the cover or something, and you were like, hey, can you just help me out real quick and like get the word out this morning to kind of like, push it out the door, and then I'll our team will take over from there. So just stuff like that. We're always like, if Luke needs Matt, everyone needs to promo something, we're always there to just be like, all right, it's on our story, let's go.
Yeah,
cool. I'll remember that on Tuesday.
That's right. I see that cover. All right, if we get a sneak peek, I'm not going to complain.
You heard it here first. But no, and if you're an author or a writer and you're not even authoring yet or don't want to claim that title for yourself, which I feel like a lot of us struggle with, and you don't know how to find a community, there's a YouTube video that Quill and Cup did on the channel in my Indie Author Behind the Scenes playlist, talking about where you can find author communities, how to find one that works for you. And there's anything from these small pockets of friendship like Writers of Rohan up to big organizations that really help if you're brand new and you don't know anything, from the ground up. And I cannot overstate how valuable this community has been as an author.
Right, no argument here. I say,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, I've learned a lot, and made so many connections as a result of this, which have been, it's also nice to know that you're not alone in this. So there are plenty of other people in the same boat as you around the world. So
yeah, it's very much the old adage of writing is a lonely job. But it's like you go on Instagram and it's like, or Instagram, Threads, Facebook, whatever, and you're like, oh, there's a lot of people here doing like, and I could be in the same exact boat as you, where it's like, today I'm just not, I can't do it, and you'll see a bunch of people commenting like, literally me. Or you'll see people being, I'm having on a roll, and you'll see a post of people that are like, me too. And it's just support everywhere.
And even like, I think it was Taika Waititi. I'm probably said his name wrong, but he was like, I'll sit down, I'll stare at a blank page for an hour, and then I'll walk away. And he said like, that's still writing.
Yep.
Like even if you don't put a word on, like you're still.
Yeah.
And then also like, whether you call yourself like a writer or an author, I saw somewhere where it's like, never call yourself an aspiring writer.
Yes.
You can be an aspiring author because you may not be published yet, but you're always a writer. You're never
always writing. Yeah.
A lot of people have mentioned that to me as well. I'll say the past as well. So that's home.
Yeah, I think there was a point where my mentor called me out on continuing to say like aspiring writer, aspiring author. And then when I did publish, even when I hit the USA Today bestseller list last year, I still was like self-published author, like qualifying. Well, maybe I'm not a real author. And then one day it was like a light bulb just clicked, like you said, Dee, that, you're always, as long as you're writing, you're a writer.
Exactly.
And really that's all there is to it. And when it comes to author, it's like, what level do you set for yourself to call yourself an author is on you. Like, can you argue if you hit an award or, get an Amazon bestseller or something like that? I don't know if the rest
of you agree, but I still think even though it's changing, there is still something of a stigma to some people when it comes to self-publishing.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's like, I hate that of like, that imposter syndrome, that feeling of like, I'm not a real author because I've self-published. It's like, no, you still published a book. Exactly. And actually I have a big like support community at my work that are like calling me a local celebrity. And I'm like, I'm not, guys, I'm not.
I saw that newspaper article you posted in your story the other day.
They're hyping me up and reminding me of like how big this is. So like when I feel like I'm not a real author, it's just self-published, it's whatever. It's like, no, you published a book, you wrote a book. Like there are so many people who say they can't, which I disagree. You can, but they're like, oh, I could never write a book or whatever. It's just like, so you still wrote a book, you still published it. It doesn't matter how you published it. And it's just like,
there's indie authors that make full-time livings off their books, just like traditional authors. And,
I'd love to find that secret myself, but
one day.
I think that's another good thing about, well, I wouldn't say good thing, but like there's with the imposter syndrome aspect, because like it comes down to like, I remember Dee and I were talking about this when I announced like having 5 books on the way, and she was like, oh, does that mean like we're tied, or like I guess I have like 2 novellas. It's like, it's not really competition. It's like, you know, it's like the support competition of like, books, but hey, you're coming up next. You still
I know. I was actually just thinking about that when Katherine was like, you have like your books out, or 1 and 2 are out, or whatever. It was like, because Forest Air and Imperium, we were doing that like friendly competition. Like I swear, like so I have a later posting time. I used to post like early in the morning, but then that life got in the way. And so I saw like Matthew posted like a trailer, and I was like, dang it, I was gonna post a trailer today.
I need to master how you two do those trailers ahead of my next one, because I was like, those look like what? Those look so good, and then.
Thanks, because I see bad quality like screen.
Either I need to figure it out myself, or I need to start charge, or I need to work out a commission with you two.
I don't know. I don't want to like get out my services or whatever, because like, is Sony gonna come for you because you have a character named Craven? I'm like, I don't know.
No, don't.
Like, I hope not. I'm gonna put a disclaimer that I don't own these clips. I just have a character named Craven.
Lots of characters are named Craven, though.
There's one in Underworld too. I remember I was watching Underworld with my dad, and I hadn't even written the Golden Wolf yet, and I was like, oh, his name's Craven. It spells just like with a K.
Because when you spell it with a C, it means something very different.
Yeah, I played on that too. When they first met Craven, Farron's like, oh, that's an unfortunate name. And he's like, I like to think it's the Cravens I put in my wake.
It's been a while since I've read the last 2 in the series. Which book was that, from Golden Wolf?
No, they meet Craven in the Lightning Bride. Actually, I put him in.
It's been ages since I've read Lightning.
I remember that quote.
It's been ages since I've read that book, so I need to fix that.
But seriously, you guys, I'm so inspired, and I really appreciate how you've come on and you share your journey during these blitzes. You guys have always been so encouraging for the people watching, and an open window really for the readers who are like, tell us about these indie
books. I wonder if it's a bit too much of an open window considering last month when I don't know if it's passing 30 or what, but you know, June seems to be June. That seems to be my existential crisis month. I don't know if it's another year older or what. But...
June is a hard month, just in general. It's the editing busy season for me in June, and I feel like I have no life except other people's books. And so when I walk out of June, I often have this crippling imposter syndrome, because so many of the books I've read, I'm like, oh, these are all so great. And then I'm over here with my book, but then I'm like, no, we're not going to compare ourselves to other people's, because you don't know how long they've been writing. You don't know where they are in their journey. You know, you don't want to compare your beginning stuff to somebody else's 10, 20, 30 year stuff. So it's like,
exactly. I say be inspired by other people, but don't compare yourself. Just be inspired by them.
Yeah. So if you're reading, if you're a reader and you like any kind of fantasy, sci-fi mix-ups, you definitely want to give all of these authors a follow and check out their books. Coincidentally, I have read everybody's work except Sean, so now I got to go find short stories from Sean to read.
Yeah, likewise.
And if people are watching who follow my Indie Fantasy Friday review reports, and you know how I am with my reviews and how I am with 5 stars, I believe every single one, Dee and Matthew and Luke have all earned a 5-star review from me before we were even really all that close of acquaintances or friends. So you can go read my honest reviews on my Goodreads for their books too. But thank you all so much for joining. Sean, I'm excited. Congratulations on your new baby.
Thank you.
And
So tentative.
definitely look forward to seeing where everybody is at New Year's, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully it'll be me who's bragging about the new book, but we shall see.
Hopefully, I've got that serial going somewhere.
Yes, we want to.
I will be loud about it. Don't worry, I will put it everywhere, so I can actually talk about a published thing. Woohoo!
Awesome. Thank you all so much. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.